Welcome back to Safety is an Illusion podcast. This is season 2, episode 3, and we're going to be talking about the dark web. So, lately I've been doing some studying on the dark web and some of the history and what it actually is used for and what it actually is. And long story short, it's just a section of the internet where it's not available by normal traditional indexes. So, like your regular search engines like Google can't access it. So you need something like the Tor browser to access this part of the internet. There's some good and there's some bad with it. It's a place where a lot of people can be anonymous. It turns out there's a lot of like dark web marketplaces to anything you can think of, some really horrific things to just basically a lot of drugs and weapon sales and even like human trafficking. And there's a lot of really evil things on there. So and I don't want to. I'm not on my channel. I'm not glorifying any of that. I think that's all horrible things. I just I do like though the private part of it. Like I've been on my channel with my subscribers. Even this Friday, we'll be doing a live stream where we talk in a private chat room that I've created using Onion Share. And it shows that you can have freedom of speech without having anything really overlooking you and keeping an eye on you. And it's not like it's for high-tech governments, but just for the sole purpose, like all these applications and the cell companies and the even Meta platforms, they track everything you do. I mean, there's a reason why you talk about like cowboy boots and then you're getting advertisements on your phone 10 minutes later. There's no privacy anymore. So you got to find ways to be private. And it's also good for disaster scenarios. Let's say worst case scenario that websites get hacked, the platforms that we rely on every single day to communicate with one another get compromised. You have another way out. So it protects you. And I mean, you could post, you can put good things on the web. Like I have an idea of putting like the Bible, making a website, making my own website and leaving the Bible on there so you can always access the Bible even on the dark web, like things like that. Like dark web can be used for good things. I think there's a whole side of the dark web. There's like a super comic store on the dark web where it has a whole bunch of free comics you can read. The dark web, there's also like there's a platform where we have journalists and this thing called the Black Vault has a whole bunch of like cool secrets and stories about like files about aliens and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of cool things on the dark web, but it's also very dangerous and it's very easy to slip into the wrong area and you can compromise yourself or be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and then you could be held accountable for something. And that's the dangerous part of the dark web, and that's why I don't really want to promote the evil side of the dark web, but we're more or less studying the private part where you can practice your freedom of speeches and you can practice being anonymous and having alternative things that you can use. And I mean, it could be a good skill to have in the future. You never know, especially how AI is starting to take over everything. I think you're going to see a lot more. You're going to start seeing smart viruses. You're going to be seeing smart malwares and dark web AIs that are going to bleed into the regular index. And I mean, it doesn't take it's not that hard to shut down servers and attack things. And if you have, I really think we're at a turning point where artificial intelligence is going to cause a lot of damage. I mean, it's not going to be like the movies where it rises up and it fights humanity. No, we're going to create it, and malicious people are going to use it for bad things just for the sole purpose that they want chaos so they can distract everybody from doing what they're doing. So, I mean, again, we're talking about the dark web. I mean, there is some really evil, dark things in there. And I don't really have to go into it too much because I don't want to promote it, make people go, oh, that's so cool, I want to check it out. Like, it's just really evil, dark. Anything you can think of. Like, it's the corner of the internet where cyber criminals and the most evil people in the world can hide and talk to like-minded individuals. I don't see any appeal into that. I do see the appeal of your own privacy and communicating with people and sharing your freedoms, your freedom of speech, and your freedom to practice your religion. I see that aspect of it, and that's the part I want to promote. Just like how I promote Meshtastic, having off-grid networks. Again, when it comes to that stuff, it's all about, what about doomsday scenarios when things get locked up, or what happens if these cell networks or things get hacked and now you have no way to communicate with one another. I mean, you need to have alternatives and backups. The dark web is so big and vast. Like, there's so much room, and it's almost as if like in the galaxy. This is the perspective. So you have our solar system, the Milky Way, and you have all our planets and stuff. Everyone knows what that stuff is, but deep down in the deep darks of space, like there's so much infinite space out there. It's very hard to find your planet if you're in that deep void. So like you can hide there because it's so big and vast, and it's ever changing. And if you're smart enough to change the website or the onion address, and you keep moving things around, having passkeys, like it becomes very hard for them to see your planet in that deep void of space. So that's what it is. So like it's not like in Milky Way. It's hard to hide. We can see pretty much everything in the Milky Way, right? But it's when you get out into deep voids of space, like that's like if that's the perspective of the surface internet versus the dark internet, how big and vast it really is. And there's some good things in it, and a part of the dark web is used for like you're like logging into servers and stuff like that. Stuff's on it, so you're always, you believe it or not, you probably access the dark web, you don't even know about it when you log into your bank and stuff like that. But there's good and bad in everything, and there's a lot of good, and I don't think there's a lot of people that promote that good side that much on YouTube. I see a lot of people, curious people with the clickbait. They buy the dark web mystery boxes, and they get human body parts sent to their houses and stuff, and like, oh no, I can't believe this happened. But when you're funding this, like, how do you, why would you do? I get it for curiosity, I understand, but you pretty much know what you're going to get into, and they do it, and they don't really say, like, hey, don't, like, I don't want to condone this activity. Like, why fuel that fire? Like, why even, like, you can imagine what can be in those things, creepy, evil things, and who knows? And there's people that get tortured on there. I mean, it's not that like you see red rooms, but there's people that send torture videos. So this is crazy. We need to take the dark web a little bit more seriously, especially when it comes to the organized cybercrime that's exploded in the last couple of years, where they've taken the ransomware gangs and they're attacking companies, and it's like they're running it like a business now. There's ransomware businesses and corporations within the dark web that are just wreaking havoc on everything. This level's pretty bad, but when you introduce AI and when it gets smarter, it's going to become like almost unstoppable. Another reason why these sites get taken down is because of greed, and they leave trails with their money. And if you have, I talked about this in the other podcast. Go check it out. I'm not going to get too into this one, but the dark web needs to be taken seriously. It's not a joke. There's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad. So, and I don't want to entertain the bad. I really don't on this channel. I'm going to be working on looking into like the good stuff, like looking at how where journalists can post things, where you can find good news articles, all the good stuff, like not the evil, creepy stuff. So that's what I'll be working on. So that's it for this podcast. Thank you for listening. And remember, safety is an illusion, and I'll see you in the next podcast.